Hey, this is Leif Gamford. I played the cash register thief in The Amazing Spider-Man, and you're listening to the Everything Geek Podcast.
Hello, I'm Simon Fisherbecker. You probably know me better as Dorian Moldovar from Doctor Who, or the Fat Friar from Harry Potter. And this is Everything Geek Podcast.
Face it, Tiger. You just hit the jackpot with the Everything Geek Podcast.
Hello everyone, you're listening to the Everything Geek Podcast. I'm your host Ruari, and joining me is my fellow co-host Jess.
Hello.
Good to have you on board for the first time. 3 episodes in, no less. And we also have a very special guest joining us today, the voice actress for Mary Jane Watson in Spectacular Spider-Man, Black Canary in Young Justice, and Jan Ors in Star Wars Jedi Knight 2, Jedi Outcast. It is voice actress Vanessa Marshall. So how are you doing?
I'm doing quite well. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, it's great to have you on the podcast. And of course, you've got quite a list of credits for voice acting as well. So hopefully we can find out about a lot of those. So yeah, we'll get right into the questions. So my first question for you, Vanessa, is how did you first decide you wanted to get into voice acting?
Well, that decision was simple. It doesn't matter what you look like. It takes a lot of the pressure off. I had done a lot of sketch comedy and stand-up comedy, and I'd always sort of been the fat, funny friend, and not a lot of work for that category, actually. And but on a microphone, you can't tell what I weigh or what type of person I am, and so there was a lot more freedom in the world of voiceover. So I ended up booking more voiceover jobs, and as it turned out, I decided to exclusively pursue that instead of on-camera acting or theater, and work on my writing in different ways other than performing live. And my voiceover career was born.
Yeah, it's very interesting and a very unique story as well. So that's really cool. My second question is, what were some of your favorite experiences from voicing Mary Jane on Spectacular Spider-Man? Did you get to record with the rest of the cast?
Yes, I did get to record with the rest of the cast. Everyone was so talented on that show. And I've said this before, every single person on the show was a major comic book fan, and specifically a fan of Spider-Man in general. And we had our hearts set on really representing the narrative in a way that some of us felt that the films may have fallen short here and there. Josh Keaton was just the consummate Peter Parker. I delighted in watching him work. He just captured Peter's essence so well. And everyone in the cast was supremely talented. So the whole experience was wonderful. Not often do you find that. A lot of times actors get cast in things, they have no idea what they're doing. And they have no reverence for the things that are holy to some of us in the geek community.
Yeah.
You know, that story happens to be one that I am very moved by. Every single episode was a joy.
Yeah, definitely, and it was a great show, that's for sure, with lots of talented voice actors. So, my third question is, what have been some of your favorite TV shows, obviously excluding the Spectacular Spider-Man this time, and video games you've got to voice on?
Gosh, some of the favorite ones. Well, it was definitely a blast to portray a young African American boy on the Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy. And that was a fun story. I had no idea. I mean, I obviously knew the gender. It was a little boy, but I wasn't quite clear on the race. And apparently everyone else had auditioned with that sort of stereotypical urban accent. And I was the only one who sort of gave a geeky male voice. And, you know, I ended up getting the job, and I was so grateful because that was my first recurring role on any cartoon ever. And I was honored to be working with Gray Delisle and Richard Horvitz, and you know, Phil Lamar played my dad, and so it was like a huge step forward for me. But it was only when I saw the cartoon and realized, yes, in fact, Irwin was African American. He looks almost like Urkel or MC Hammer. And that's why I realized they were so impressed with my quote unquote politically correct read. I had no idea what they were talking about prior to that. So it was a huge revelation. But that was one of the most fun and also the first. So
Yeah, it's really cool. Definitely. So my fourth question is, what do you remember from working on Star Wars Jedi Knight 2, Jedi Outcast?
well, what I think I remember most, not only was the experience pleasurable, but I knew that my boyfriend I had just broken up with at the time would most likely be playing this game incessantly. And unfortunately for him, the goal of the game is to keep me alive. And
Wow.
so the whole time I'm, you know, I mean, he was a huge gamer and a nerd like me. And so I knew, I was like, oh, this is going to come back to haunt me. And lo and behold, I got an email after it came out saying, you know, the hardest part of the breakup is trying to get a high score on that game because I keep wanting to kill you, you know. And oops.
Wow.
I mean, he was of course partially kidding, but I think he did struggle with the desire to keep me alive. It wasn't an ugly breakup or anything. It just, you know, it was sad times. Anyway, but that was a little distracting while recording.
Yeah, it's very interesting and different. Yeah, different is the word for it.
Yeah.
So anyway, my last question for you is, do you have any upcoming voiceover work or other projects you'd like to talk about?
Well, I'm very excited about the new Justice League Flashpoint Paradox straight to DVD that's coming out. I'm playing Wonder Woman in that. Previously, I played Wonder Woman on Crisis on Two Earths, which was Dwayne McDuffie's final project, and that was an honor to work with him. But they are premiering the movie at Comic-Con on, I believe it's the Friday night, so I'm very excited for that. And the DVD is soon to be released. I don't know the exact date, but it's, I mean, come on, it's Wonder Woman. You know, I had the bracelets and the underoos and the whole thing growing up as a kid, so you know, to actually get to attempt to play her was an honor. And so I'm very excited. I saw some of the animation and it is epic. Truly, I was just speechless when I saw it. So, and I'm not just saying that because I'm in it. If I hadn't, I would have said the same. It's just really amazing. And I'm the voice of Big Brother here in America. I'm doing all the promos for the summer campaign, and that's my third year of having done it, so that's fun. And I'm not sure if you've seen any of these Egg White Delight McMuffin commercials.
No.
My friends keep texting me, please stop telling me about the Egg White Delight McMuffins. I am the voice of that campaign, so good luck with that. And then conversely, I'm also the voice of South Beach Diet's new smoothies. So if you happen to go to McDonald's too often, you can then go on the South Beach diet.
So one person encouraging us to eat muffins and then drink smoothies. Very interesting.
Sure.
Sounds legit.
Yeah, total schizophrenia. But I'm producing a show here in Los Angeles for anyone who's local. It's called Show and Tell. It's a monthly show. If you want to look it up, it's Show and Tell Show LA on Facebook. But we have a monthly topic, and people bring objects and tell a story within a 7-minute time frame of said object. So it's sort of like show and tell from when you were a kid, only better because we're adults. And the next one is July 17th at the Jump Cut Cafe. And I will have updates about that on my Facebook page or on my Twitter account at Van Marshall. But that's been a lot of fun. Stand-up comics come and perform, writers come and perform. We're going to have a celebrity night. And anyway, I like to keep it interesting. So that's the geography of what lies ahead at this point.
Yeah, it's really cool. So thank you very much for answering my questions, and I'll hand you over to Jess.
All right.
Terrific.
So my first question is, how did you get involved with Spectacular Spider-Man?
Well, I auditioned for it, and that's pretty much the life of an actor. Like, how do we get involved? We try. And then they say, please come work for us. And it's a miracle when that happens. We're thrilled. But I remember when the audition came in, I was like, I'm not even going to read for this. They have like the major hitters, Tara Strong, Gray Delisle. Like, why would I even try? And then my agent called me and she said, where's your Mary Jane audition? I was like, oh, dear. So I did it and sent it anyway. I was like, whatever. And I got a call back for it. And when I showed up for the callback, they said, all right, we're going to play your audition for you. And they started it with my slate. Vanessa Marshall is Mary Jane. And then they shut it off. And I said, well, what about my audition? They said, oh, your audition sucked. But the voice of Mary Jane was in the slate of your name. Go. Just like,
wow.
Okay, good thing I did that. And I walked away from the callback and I thought, well, you know what? It either will or won't be. I love Spider-Man. I would be thrilled, whatever. I got a call back, Yahoo. And then I was in the middle of recording a Honda commercial and my phone rang. It was my agent. And she said, oh, hello, is this Mary Jane? And I literally, my knees buckled and I fell to the floor.
Oh, wow.
And I know. And the Honda commercial people were like, do we need to call a paramedic? Are you all right? Like on a geek level, I didn't know how to explain to them what had just happened. I was like, oh, no, I'm fine. Who knows if they would ever understand what, come on, man.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Anyway, I picked myself up off the floor and carried on. I was doing legal tags for Honda at the time. Lease offers and what have you. But anyway, it was probably one of the happiest days of my life. Literally. It was a miracle. So anyway.
My last question is, did you have an inspiration when you started your career as a voice actor? If so, who inspired you?
Wow, as a voiceover artist, man. The thing I've found with voiceover is people who have a point of view do quite well in this. I found that singers do well, stand-up comics do well, because even if their read doesn't translate, they have a point of view that's respectable. And so I tended to follow, singers and comedians and such. But in my first animation class I took, Gray Delisle was in it with me.
Wow.
And I know, what are the odds, right? And I followed her career pretty closely, and I just adore her. So she really inspired me to keep pursuing it. Her range is just outstanding. I mean, she's such a beautiful person inside and out. She makes me laugh, and she's a good friend. And I definitely drew inspiration from her. But specific people, other than that, I'm not really sure. I guess I just kept trying to find my own voice and bring the integrity of that to my work, and hope that it was on a par with the other people who were finding success by pursuing that. And of course, Gray is a singer. I know she used to do comedy, and her tweets are hilarious. If you're not following her, please do. She is so funny. Oh my God. Every day I'm favoriting her tweets. But yeah, it's kind of hard to pin it down other than that. So hopefully that answers your question.
It doesn't. Thanks, and I'll pass you back to Rory.
Yeah.
Okay,
So,
thanks.
so we have a Facebook question from one of our followers, Johnny Beggs, who asks, "How would you describe Mary Jane in one word?"
Ooh, that's a good question. Well, I know one blog described my performance as a geek-gasm. Pardon me if that's vulgar for the podcast.
No, it's perfectly fine.
Yeah.
I was a little shocked by that, a geek-gasm. But I actually would do two words, and those words would be Peter's conscience. So I'm cheating. I gave you one vulgar option and one that is not the answer to your question at all, but my feeling about how important Mary Jane is to that story.
Yeah, that's perfectly fine. I'm sure he'll be okay with that, with either of those.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, that's all of our questions for you. So thank you very much, Vanessa, for joining us today on this episode.
Thank you so much. I'm honored, and I will keep listening and send you anyone and everyone I can, because you really, what you're doing is so important. I'm grateful that you're doing it. I love it. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, and keep those names coming. That's all I'm going to say.
I will indeed.
Yeah.
All right. Well, keep up the great work, you guys. You're awesome.
So are you.
All right. Take care.
Bye.
Adios.
Bye-bye. Bye.
My editor is going to have hell.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you ready to move on to the next topic?
Yep.
Yeah, so keeping in theme with the Spectacular Spider-Man, myself, and Jess are gonna discuss our opinions on the Spectacular Spider-Man TV show and name some of our favorite episodes and characters. So, go ahead.
I have to say, Spectacular Spider-Man was really good. It had some great stories, and the characters were all awesome. Especially this one episode where Peter Parker / Spider-Man was hired to test out a prison. That was like one of my favorite episodes.
Was that the second last one? Am I thinking of a different one?
It was like the last season, I remember, I think.
Yeah, when he's meant to go in a prison cell and find a way to get out, and then when he does, he comes across all sorts of old enemies like
Yeah, that
Rhino
one.
and Shocker and all.
That was
Well,
always one of my favorites.
Yeah, I like that one too. It was very interesting because when I watched it, actually Shocker was one of my favorite villains, and when I was just watching it, I was like, am I such a geek that I can actually now tell, but just by the voice which characters are which? Because really, I mean, I actually completely forgot about this, but there's an episode even only a few episodes before that one, which actually has Shocker from the moment you actually do see his face, because he takes his mask off, and I forgot completely about that one. I was like, oh, I am such a geek for knowing that Shocker just by the voice, and then, oh, we saw his face a few episodes ago.
Yeah.
Like, it was even worse when I could tell which one Ox was as well. It wasn't really that hard because, we knew he was the big one of the Enforcers,
Mm-hmm.
really huge and all. Yeah, that was definitely a really good episode. I think a couple of my favorites, of course, episode-wise, would be when they first introduced Mary Jane, the first episode where she appears, she only appears at the very end after being mentioned for a few episodes beforehand, but not actually shown. When she just appears on his doorstep for that party or ball, or whatever it was, and she's just like, face it, Tiger, you just hit the jackpot. That line just made me laugh.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah, and because, of course, and it was funny because, like, Peter had been cringing at the thought of Miss Personality for the previous few episodes, and then when he sees her, he's left shocked.
Mm-hmm.
It was great. And then the episode after where they actually aired the parody and everyone is shocked by the fact that Peter is someone like Mary Jane. That it was just good.
And the episodes of Venom were good too.
I definitely, yeah, two of my favorite episodes as well, and definitely my two favorites with Venom were the episode where he reveals right in front of Jonah Jameson in the Daily Bugle that Peter is Spider-Man, and then the one after Identity Crisis, where Peter keeps trying to prove he's not Spider-Man, and it becomes increasingly hard to, prove that. It was just brilliant though, in that episode before, and when Venom reveals it, you're just like, oh, yeah, that scene is just how, yeah, the episode's gonna end now, nothing else is gonna happen, and then suddenly they're all in the Daily Bugle, Peter and all the others around Jonas, and suddenly Venom crashes in, and he's just like, here's a scoop for you, and Peter's just like, no, 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 and then he's like, Peter Parker is Spider-Man! And then
Dun dun dun.
Yeah, and then the look Jameson gives him is so crazy. And
Jameson was awesome.
Yeah, and you can just see Peter as such a shock face, and yeah, and the voice actor for Jameson was really good as well. It could really, I mean, you could easily confuse it for being the actual voice from the actual actor from the film's voice, and it was a voice actor called Darren Norris, and he did a really good job.
John Jameson has always been one of my favorite characters in Spider-Man. He cracks me up.
He was really cool. One of my, I think, I'm not too sure she might be in the comics. She definitely hasn't been in the film, either of the film series anyway, but probably my favorite original character in the Spectacular Spider-Man was Liz Allen. I thought she was a great character. I mean, I didn't really like her at first, because, she was just like kind of stuck up and just hanging around with Flash and, not really knowing Peter and all that. Then once he started tutoring her, that she became a much better character, to the point, of course, where they went in a relationship, even though Peter didn't really want that because, he wanted to be with Gwen. Yeah, and I have to confess this, when Peter broke up with Liz in the last episode, well, wouldn't have been if Disney, had cancelled the show and they took over it. When Peter broke up with Liz, I almost broke down completely. I was horrified. I was like, no, don't break up with her, no. Yeah, I literally did, but I was breaking down. I just found absolutely hilarious the way Liz turned the tables like that. Pretending it was her that broke up with Peter and then going away to, start crying and all that. That was so touching. The last episode itself, that was brilliant. I mean, and it leaves a great deal, for fans to have imagination, because you're just like, oh, they killed Norman Osborn. Yes, big character death. Wonder where it's gonna go from here. And then at the end of it, you find out, oh wait a minute, Norman doesn't die. Dun dun dun.
Too bad that the show was canceled.
Yeah, I mean, I actually genuinely thought because sometimes for some shows more by accident than anything, I read some spoilers. Spectacular Spider-Man was one show I didn't read any spoilers onto. Everything just shocked me more than it would if I didn't read the spoilers, because sometimes I have read spoilers and I still got shocked anyway, so
yeah,
never know what happened. But I mean, when I was just like, oh, Norman's dead, I wonder what's gonna well, obviously I knew the show had been cancelled, but I wonder what would have happened to them, and then all of a sudden we know he's alive actually, and it's a cliffhanger.
And then they replaced that show with Ultimate Spider-Man.
Yeah, I'm not even gonna watch it.
I watched the first episode, almost clawed my eyeballs out.
That's a very nice perspective of it. But yeah, I mean, the last episode though, Final Curtain, I mean, to be honest, I know that when they made the episode, named it the title and the episode itself, and obviously they didn't know it should be cancelled, but when you think about it, Final Curtain, it does sound kind of ominous, doesn't it? Yeah, and from what I read, there was meant to be like 65 episodes or something, and they only had 26 because of Disney, which is kind of disappointing. I did read they were going to introduce, I think, a couple of new villains in the season 3, but there wasn't really that much known about it, to my knowledge, anyway, before it was cancelled. Yeah, I could be wrong. I only will admit I don't really have a chance to read what I found that said that. I just skimmed through it a bit. It did say there would be a couple of new villains. I can't actually remember the names, but it did say that. Yeah, I just love the last line from Norman Osborn in Final Curtain, though. Don't apologize. I never do. I mean, it doesn't even look like him, but you can just tell once he says that. Yep, that's Norman. He's survived.
Yeah.
Just, it's not really that surprising. I mean, it takes a genius, to be able to plan the way he does as the Green Goblin. I mean, really, if he died like that, it might be a bit cheap, really. So I'm glad they actually did keep him alive, and unfortunately, we won't find out what happened to them because of that. But I mean, I don't know if there's any truth to it, and probably isn't, just wishful thinking. But I read on one Facebook group, Keep the Spectacular Spider-Man Alive, some other channel is going to be airing a new Spectacular Spider-Man or something, or maybe what by new they meant they had narrowed rights to a show, the first 2 seasons, but
yeah, for
I don't know.
syndication.
Yeah, probably. I mean, but the way they worded it was new, even though I really doubt it. What did mean the new ones. But I also really liked though. When I first watched the show, like I knew, of course, that some of the voice actors from another of their favorite TV shows, The Clone Wars, also cancelled by Disney, might I add.
Yeah.
So is The Clone Wars. I knew that James Taylor voiced in it. I was looking forward to hearing him as Harry Osborn, and he did do a great job. It was just cool the way they had so many other The Clone Wars voice actors sprinkled in there. D. Bradley Baker as Kurt Connors. I mean, the moment I heard him, I just could tell it was D immediately. I mean, the voice was the exact same that he uses for the clone troopers. I mean, I just noticed it right away. I mean, I know some people who know voice actors' voices inside out, can tell when they have a different voice. Like, this is probably my first time actually recognizing a voice actor from another show, and it was their own voice as well. So I was just saying, at the same time, of course, they had their own, other voice actors that I didn't, recognize from other works, like Vanessa herself. Like, I haven't seen anything else that she'd done before.
Yeah.
I mean, I had seen some of Jedi Outcast, but I hadn't known she'd voiced in it, of course. And then there's all sorts of other things, voice cast, like Josh Keaton, who's very well known. Steve Blum, I knew him from a lot of our works. I mean, who doesn't know Steve Blum?
Yeah, he's one of the big name ones.
Yeah, definitely, and he voiced the Green Goblin. Yeah, there was definitely a lot of them. I mean, thinking back but yeah, I definitely agreed with what you were saying at the start. Definitely told some good stories. I will admit one thing. I remember when I first this is even before I started, watching episodes. When I was just looking at pictures, I was like, I'm not too fussed about the character models. But I think I get it now, having watched the show. Like, when I first saw a picture of the Green Goblin character model, I was like, oh my god, it's gonna be so bad. And then now that I actually know for a fact that the models really were based off the comic, designs, I'm okay with it. I mean, it does look more comic-like, So I don't think the character models are bad anymore. In fact, they are pretty accurate to the comics, definitely. Thinking back to the episodes, is there any others I can think of that were my favorites?
All I have to say is that theme song is catchy.
Oh yeah, that theme song is brilliant. Yeah, especially the halfway point where they show Peter Parker and his name beside him, and then show a few other characters. What I really liked about that as well, most other shows with their themes just keep it the same if they show characters, but depending on who has had a bigger role in certain episodes and who didn't, they keep changing it up. So one week you could have like Harry Osborn and Gwen Stacy because they had major roles in the episode, or it could be Liz Allen and Mary Jane Watson, or even Flash Thompson. Yeah. And wasn't it not just so funny in Identity Crisis when Flash disguised himself as Spider-Man to get the reporters to stop reporting on Peter?
That was funny.
Oh, yeah, I was brilliant. That was so class. And then the way he helped Spider-Man as well. But one of them, I like can't exactly remember which episode it was. It was when the Sinister Six, with Shocker and Doctor Octopus went after Spider-Man. When they were ice skating.
Oh
When
gosh, that one.
when Spider-Man rescued Flash, and then Flash is like, "Will you sign my cast?" And he's like, no," something like that. That was funny. Um, it was so funny though watching well, didn't really show as much in the later episodes, but mainly in season one when they were showing like American football with Flash and Harry and some of the other characters that we knew uh, in the tournament. That was kind of amusing as well.
Yeah.
There's definitely a lot. But if you had to pick, would you say were your favorite three characters from Spectacular Spider-Man?
Joe John Jameson, Peter Parker, and
Always the last one is the tricky one.
yeah. I guess the Green Goblin because he was so wacky.
Yeah. For me, definitely Liz Allen is in there. It is a tricky one, definitely. Eddie Brock slash Venom, both of them. I did like them. I enjoyed Ben Diskin's performance as both. Again, another voice actor I knew first from the Clone Wars. Yeah, Ben did a great job as Eddie. And to be honest with you, every time, well, especially in the later episodes, after Peter and Eddie have the falling out, every time he would say bro, mainly as Venom, I would get the chills. He's just like, bro. He was just like, shivers.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, so there's Eddie.
And the
just so
last
many
one.
Oh, yeah, always the last one. But villain-wise, I really like Shocker. I have to admit, I don't know what it is. I think it was the voice as well. Just sold it for me, and the design. I really liked him, and the way he could fight. He just had to stretch out his arms, and the green laser fiends would fire out and fucking fight. Saying completely wrong on lasers, but you know what I'm referring to.
Yeah.
I thought Shocker was really cool. Now here's an interesting one for you actually. How about least favorite characters, but maybe not three because that would be a bit trickier. Because I didn't dislike a lot of them. In fact, I might have to think about that one myself.
Can't really think of any that I didn't like.
I don't know why. I think Percy because I preferred Shocker, but I don't know. I wasn't a huge fan of Electro, to be honest. I just thought they were really so similar characters if you think about it. I mean,
Yeah.
sure they have different stories, but their names kind of sound similar, like the same ideas. Their powers are kind of similar, but I just think Shocker's was cooler. And yeah, but I will admit I do like Electro's design. When he goes mad. And I remember the episode where Spider-Man goes underwater to save Gwen. I thought that was probably Electro's best episode, if not one of his better, definitely. The way Electro's getting so annoyed that Spider-Man keeps calling him any different name he can think of that begins with Max, like Maximilian, Maximus, and all sorts of names like that. And Electro is just going, "Shut up, shut up, shut up!" and trying to hit him with lightning, and inadvertently just blowing up all of Doctor Octopus's work. That was funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, but aside from that, so maybe one or two others, I wasn't really a big fan of Electro. Probably another villain that I didn't really like him. Sorry, I might be accidentally be picking on the villains a bit here. I'll try and think of a hero that I wasn't so fond of. I know he was the main villain, the first super villain they introduced, but Vulture, I never really got the point of him really. Yeah, he was just I don't want to say filler character, but I never really got to understanding his story or liking him. I don't really know why. I will admit his design was brilliant.
Wasn't he the first villain we ever saw?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, but the design was the saving thing. I just don't think the story film was that great, if there at all. But I probably should rewatch the first few episodes. Because recently I just went from like the first episode of Mary Jane until the end, so I probably should watch the first few again.
Yeah, I should watch
and
them again too.
Yeah, and I might understand Vulture a bit better, but I just didn't really get the feel they had a story. Have you thought of any you didn't like? And I'll try and think of a hero.
It's been a while since I've watched the show, so I'm kind of like trying to grasp at the names. Terrible of names.
I know, we all are. Oh god, we're both having a hard time choosing.
Yeah.
Yeah. You need to choose a character at all. I just need to think of a hero I didn't like. Oh god, I don't think either of us will ever come up with one. Yeah. At least I came with a couple of villains, that's all I'll say.
Yeah.
It's actually just kind of amused me, come to think of it. Weren't Vulture and then Electro the first two introduced?
Yeah.
I think that means I dislike both of the first two villains then. Electro at some point inside like the episode I mentioned, but Vulture I never really was fond of.
He was kind of bland.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry about this, listeners, but getting back to villains, because I just thought of one. Rhino. I will admit I do like him, but at times I just felt like they just used him as filler because they couldn't think of another character to use at times.
Yeah.
I will admit I had a change of heart the other day. I watched a episode I originally watched before, and I thought, oh, come on, they threw Rhino in there for no reason, and now he's helping Spider-Man. Come on, that's lame storytelling. Then I rewatched the episode and I realized, oh, that device that they're fighting over would get them allow them to control Rhino's mind and body and a whole army of Rhino kind of people. Now I get why Rhino's in there, and I just face palmed at myself. But yeah, I mean, there were a couple of episodes though that I did feel Rhino was a bit filler, but yeah. I also found it kind of weird that they gave Rhino a different name. Well, not different as in the supervillain name, but a different human name, Alex O'Hearn, than his comic name. If I'm being honest with you, I actually kind of preferred O'Hearn, but that's just between you and me and the listeners. But yeah, God, a hero. Flash Thompson could be a bit annoying, but he was so cool. If there's one I didn't like, but I think this was a character they purely wanted you to not like, and that she was going one episode there, but I would probably say Sally Averill, who was actually voiced by Grey DeLeo, who we mentioned earlier. I wasn't a big fan of her. She only had one episode, really, I feel, of development, and no, I don't really want to say I dislike her, but I would have liked to have seen her developed more, which we only really saw in, the last episode, and only one episode.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe if I watch over the first few episodes again, I'll find another hero I actually did dislike, but...
Yeah, I'd have to watch the show again to remember the characters' names and stuff.
At least I thought of a few characters. You've still yet to name any. And I don't think you will be naming any, right?
Because it's been a while.
A while indeed. So yeah, do you want to just leave it at that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Let your brain rest and not be overthinking. So yeah, you don't have to actually talk about this next topic. It's just something I threw in.
Okay.
Actually the next two really. But I mean, I'm not sure if you're a fan of it. So if you're not and don't want to actually talk about it, that's fine. But last week they showed us a new trailer for the upcoming Percy Jackson movie, the Percy Jackson Sea of Monsters International trailer, which was really cool. I've been looking forward to this film for a while. Probably my most anticipated film of 2013. Again, between me, you, and the listeners, before I saw the first for the new films, this was the only one I wanted to see this year. I wasn't going to see Star Trek Into Darkness. I didn't care about any of the others. But now I've seen Star Trek Into Darkness. I'm probably hopefully gonna see a few of the others that came out. Yeah, it was a really good trailer, and there was a few scenes. good amount of scenes that they had used in the previous trailers, like around 2 trailers for Sea of Monsters before this one, but at the same time they did have a very good amount of new shots as well. Every time the actor for Luke, Jake Abel, speaks, it's just so creepy. I mean, he makes for a great villain. Every time he just says a line, oh god, I just get the shivers really. And I just loved his line at one point to Percy in the trailer. Looks like you're not the only demigod who's had to kill, because in the last movie, the first Percy Jackson movie, The Lightning Thief, Percy had created a kind of what could you call it, rod, but kind of a spiky rod, out of wood, and thrown it at Luke, and it sent him all the way into the sea. Percy probably thought it drowned him, but obviously, as those who read the books know, it didn't. And then now Percy just finally finding out that Luke's alive again. It's actually something they changed from the first book. You know, Percy was meant to be well aware that Luke survived because Luke tried to set a scorpion on him and Percy barely survived. So that was something they changed from the book. And there do seem to be a few changes again from the book, but I'm not really completely bothered. I mean, I still enjoyed the first Percy Jackson movie a lot personally. Personally think the cast is really good. Logan Lerman as Percy. I've seen Logan in a few movies now, and he has consistently impressed me with great different performances each time. Like in The Perks of Being a Wallflower, brilliant movie, definitely one of the best of last year's, and he was really good. And also, I know you're a Harry Potter fan, just for my interest, you know, Emma Watson was in that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, The Perks of Being a Wallflower. Yeah, Logan and Emma were the main, well, two of the main, cast in it. Back to Percy Jackson, and there's also Alexandra Daddario, who played Annabeth. That's actually embarrassing. I almost forgot the name of my favorite character.
For shame.
Names. I know, it's really worrying. Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing Annabeth. It's very interesting. Because in the books, Annabeth has always been blonde, and for the first film, I had no problems with this, Percy, but I know lots of fans did, and they kept Alexandra having a brown or a brunette hair, but this time that she has actually dyed it for Percy Jackson, so it is kind of blonde. I might, if any Percy Jackson fans listening, I probably think I'm crazy for this, but I'd honestly rather keep the brunette hair, have kept the brunette hair, because just the way it's been dyed, you know, you can see blonde hair, but it's like brunette with highlights as well, kind of thing. I don't know, it just doesn't really look that flattering in my opinion. Alexandra has been in some other works recently. Texas Chainsaw 3D, a horror film I still have yet to see.
Never seen it either, so don't feel bad.
Yeah, it was released only in January, I think, very early in the year actually, around the 5th or something. Yeah, she's been in some other works, but I don't think I've seen anything other than Percy Jackson, but I could be wrong. She's been in Brandon Jackson, who plays how did I almost say Glover? It's Grover. What's up with me and names? Seriously, I'm Grover Underwood. Yeah, he did it. He was definitely really good in the first Percy Jackson film, and the great thing is the way he portrays his character. It's very similar to how he is in real life. You know, he's this crazy, funny guy. Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing him in the Sea of Monsters, and again, I could see, as per usual, he's cracking some jokes in the trailers, like when Percy and Annabeth tell him they need to go on a quest for the Golden Fleece. Grover's like, I'm just gonna make sure my health insurance is okay first. That was, yeah. And in another trailer, Percy knocked on the door and Grover opened it, and then he said, "This is a bad idea." And Percy's like, "You don't even know what I was gonna say." And Grover's like, "It's still about you." And Grover's like, "You were about to say you were going after the fleece," and then Annabeth comes out and says, "Actually, he was gonna say we were." That was good. That was a That was a funny bit of dialogue. Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see Grover. They also have a few new cast as well that I'm looking forward to seeing. A new up and coming actress who doesn't really, I'd say, become a big name. I think she was in the Hunger Games last year, which was pretty popular, so she is definitely becoming more well known. The Clarice actress, oh God, I'm probably gonna say the name completely wrong, but Levine Rambin, is it? I'm I'm almost certain I'm saying it completely wrong, but something like that. I think uh there's also a new actor for Chiron, Pierce Brosnan, who most fans know from the James Bond franchise.
Oh
He
yeah.
played he played Chiron in the first Percy Jackson movie, The Lightning Thief, but he's not reprising the role for Sea of Monsters. The role will be taken up by an actor called Anthony Head. I personally haven't seen him in any work, so I can't make a comment on him. I think he was in a TV show called Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I probably have no clue what I'm saying. Another one, a bit well-known name, I think, is Nathan Fillion as Hermes, one of the Olympus gods.
Wasn't Nathan Fillion in that show Firefly?
I think so, yeah. I think that is what he's best known for,
Yeah.
actually. Yeah, so he's playing Hermes. Yeah, one of the Olympian gods. I'm pretty sure I'm saying that right. I can tell you he's the guy with a phone that has two snakes on it. That much I can tell you. That was another of the funny scenes in one of the previous trailers. They showed a bit of the scene in the newest trailer, but they didn't show the whole scene. But basically, gave Annabeth the spot and said, "You release the cap off this, and you release the wind from the four corners of the globe." Or I think it was wind. And then Annabeth's about to pull it off, and he's like, "No, no, no, not in here, not in here." That was funny. Yeah. And one of the things that actually interested me most in the new trailer was the end of it. When they showed this, this alien like thing. What am I saying? This monster like thing, which was kind of dark and had flames in it as well, like fire in its eyes and all that, and flames surrounding it. I could be wrong, but I think that is Hades' true form, another of the gods.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was his true form. Like we got a hint at the true form in the Lightning Thief, and forgive me, I haven't actually seen the Lightning Thief in over a year, not over a year, around a year. So I do need to watch it again, but I think it was Hayes' true form. But I think that might be another change in the book, because again, I'm fine not wrong, because it's been even longer since I've read the second book. Because personally, out of all the Percy Jackson books, Sea of Monsters was probably my least favorite. I have a feeling the film will be better. But yeah, I think. But yeah, there is a lot of changes. I don't remember the scene specifically, but in the trailer, Percy threw a dagger into this bronze bull flame kind of creature, and it blew up. I saw someone on YouTube say that wasn't in the book, so I'm gonna take their word for it on that one. And it's probably true, but I don't really care for the changes in the books, because I personally see books and films of franchises as completely different things. And really, in my opinion, from looking at it from that standpoint, that's why I've never really complained about a film being different to the book. But that's just me. Yes, Percy Jackson Sea of Monsters definitely looks really good. I highly recommend going to see it when it comes out. And if it's a fail, then noted. Yeah, you can call me out on that, but I have a feeling it won't be. Hopefully, maybe it'll be even better than the last one. And I know lots of people were disappointed with the last one. I personally liked it. In fact, I think it did do badly at the box office, and that's why it's taken so long to get the second one out there, Sea of Monsters. Because by the time Sea of Monsters is released, it'll be 3 years since The Lightning Thief came out. Yeah. Yeah, anyway, I think that's all I'm gonna get out of my head on Percy Jackson related. So moving on, I wanted to announce a couple of things for the listeners, which you'll hear first on the podcast. as you know, on the Everything Geek Podcast Facebook page, if you're following us there, I did announce our first convention presence or / appearance, which will be at Dublin Comic Con this August 10th and 11th. And I am happy to announce the first 2 of our confirmed video interviews for the podcast, which will take place at that event. So here you go, first 2 confirmed video interview announcements. So here they are. First up is Charlie Adlard, who is a very well-known comic artist from The Walking Dead. So yeah, that probably won't be. I definitely will not be the one actually, doing the interview. My friend Graham, who you've heard in the last 2 episodes, will be doing that interview. He's a much bigger fan of The Walking Dead than I am, and he's been looking forward to meeting Charlie ever since he was announced back in January. So he'll be the one interviewing Charlie, and I'll probably be the one who's lucky enough to record. Yay! And as well as Charlie, there is actor Ian White, who is well known for being an engineer in Prometheus, Sir Gregor Clegane in season 2 of Game of Thrones, the TV series recorded in Northern Ireland, Scar in Aliens vs Predators, and a stuntman for the Harry Potter franchise. So, some of you have known me for a while now. I have met Ian before at the Heroes and Legends convention back in February. Very nice man.
Indeed.
Yeah, always just very polite. Has some funny stories to tell, and is all around just really cool. And so it'd be good to get an interview done with him as well. But I probably don't need an autograph this time around. So yeah, there was the 2 first video interview announcements for Everything Geek Podcast at Dublin Comic Con. Charlie Adlard and Ian White, and you'll hear them on the podcast first, and through the week I'll officially be announcing them on the Facebook page, and hopefully at some point giving you, the listeners, the opportunity to leave your questions for both Charlie and Ian. So look forward to that. So I'd say it's about time we wrap up, wouldn't you say?
Indeed. Let's wrap this up.
You just put on a really weird accent for absolutely no reason.
Sorry.
It's okay. So make sure to check out our YouTube channels. The podcast is www.youtube.com/user/everythinggeekcast. Mine is www.youtube.com/user/separatist-destroyers. Jess's is www.youtube.com/user/jessicabane501. And also be sure to check out Vanessa's website, VanessaMarshall.com. And I'm not going to spell her name out for you. Oh, why not? VanessaMarshall.com. I almost left that one out. But anyway, so geeks out, everyone.